Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
Explosions lit up Israel's night sky.
Late on Saturday night, Iran launched hundreds of missiles and drones at Israel. This was Iran's first direct attack on Israeli territory, and it was a retaliatory strike that came 13 days after the Iranian consulate in Damascus was bombed. Iran's attack began with the launch of close to 200 drones, which appeared to be an effort to overwhelm Israel's air defenses. Next came more than 170 ballistic missiles and more than 30 cruise missiles. Israel scrambled dozens of planes to help repel the attack. Most of the drones and missiles fired by Iran were shot down by Israeli, American, and other allied forces before it could reach Israeli territory. The IDF said that only a small number of missiles actually landed in Israel.
Tonight, wide-scale attack by Iran is a major escalation. Together with our allies and partners, we are operating at full force to defend the state of Israel and the people of Israel. We will continue to fulfill this mission.
But why did Iran take 13 days to respond to an attack which killed one of its core military commanders? In those 13 days, Biden and Netanyahu had issued innumerable statements aimed at Iran as the media in both countries warned of an imminent attack. US intelligence on Friday had warned of an attack within 24 to 48 hours. That is how precise the information was. Israel, in response, closed down its schools, it directed its citizens to head to bomb shelters and increase protection for its infrastructure facilities. Biden, meanwhile, cut short his trip to Delaware, his home state, over the weekend, hours before the attack, to return to the White House and to consult with his national security team. Iran's attack was anything but unexpected. But despite the warnings and the build-up, the attack itself is still Iran's first direct strike on Israel. In a few hours, the two countries have left behind decades of shadow war. The stage is set now for a potential direct military confrontation and a possible wider regional war. On Crux Decode, what will be the fallout of Iran's attack on Israel? Why did Iran spend more than 2 weeks issuing warnings before launching this attack that Israel appeared to have been well prepared for? Is Iran's attack on Israel meant only as a warning shot? The American media has been reporting on backchannel communications between the Biden administration and Iran's leadership for weeks now. These channels have been active ever since Iran released American prisoners in a $6 billion swap deal back in September of 2023. Over the past couple of weeks, in the aftermath of the Damascus strike, Iran indicated to the United States that it would retaliate against Israel, but wanted to avoid some kind of an escalation that would lead to an all-out war. US intelligence reports showed that Iran's leaders felt the need to respond to Israel's strike in Damascus because there were concerns of a domestic blowback if the strike went unanswered. The United States, for its part, appears to have given Iran the green light of sorts. A US official cited in a Reuters report said that the United States expects an attack by Iran against Israel, but one that would not be big enough to draw Washington into this war. So perhaps the US was very much aware of what Iran had planned. And after the attack, Iran has also indicated it does not plan any further strikes, although that does come with a caveat. Through its United Nations mission in New York, Iran issued a statement after the attack on Israel that appeared to offer Israel a way to prevent further escalation. The Iranian statement posted on social media said that the strike was to avenge the Damascus attack, and now it could be considered finished. But it also said, and I quote, "Should the Israeli regime make another mistake, then Iran's response will be considerably more severe. It is a conflict between Iran and the rogue Israeli regime from which the United States must stay away." The warning was echoed by Iran's military commanders, quoted in the Iranian media as saying that if Israel retaliates, then Iran's response will be larger than the first attack.
عملیات از نظر ما خاتمه یافته است و قصدی بر ادامه این عملیات وجود نداره. اما چنانچه رژیم صهیونیستی اقدامی رو علیه جمهوری اسلامی ایران چه در خاک ما و چه در مراکز متعلق به ما در کشور سوریه یا جای دیگری انجام بده، عملیات بعدی ما بسیار بزرگتر از این انجام خواهد شد.
So Iran is basically saying that we could stop here, or maybe this is just the first round, and it all comes down to Israel and America's response. What Saturday's attack has shown is that Iran can strike back with little independent assessment of Iran's military capabilities. There's been speculation for years now about Iran's real military strength. The use of Iranian drones in the Ukraine war had offered some initial proof of how Iran was growing its arsenal of low-cost, high-value arms, and now the scale and volume of these drones and missiles launched at Israel is further proof that Iran's arsenal is both large and it is effective. But with such weapons at its disposal, and with a point to prove, why would Iran give so much warning of its intentions? After 2 weeks of build-up and back-channel communication with the US, when it actually came down to it on Saturday night, Iran's attack appeared to be more of a symbolic one. After all, around 11 p.m. local time, Iran announced that it was launching a swarm of drones and missiles towards Israel. Israel's military, which had already been in a state of high alert for a missile attack, confirmed the launch at around the same time. Israel had hours to prepare for the arrival of these drones or to intercept them en route, as the two countries and the borders are more than 1,500 kilometers apart. The slower-moving drones are expected to take 9 hours to arrive. So Iran's cruise missiles, according to military analysts, would take about 2 hours to reach Israeli territory, and the high-speed ballistic missiles anywhere between 12 to 15 minutes. So there was enough lead time to get the air defenses in place, although the volume of the drones and missiles was very high, possibly to showcase Iran's attack capabilities by air. The majority of these drones and missiles were shot down by Israeli, American, and other allied forces before they reached Israeli territory. A number of missiles, a smaller number, landed in Israel, causing some very light damage. Among the targets were two air bases, the Nevatim Air Base, one of the largest in Israel, and the Ramon Air Base in southern Israel. Israeli media has previously reported that the Nevatim Air Base regularly receives American weapons deliveries. It also houses the F-35 fighters that may have been deployed for the attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus. So yes, an attack high in symbolism, and more likely than not, an active warning to Israel and to the United States. An attack that also comes as a timely signal of its strength to Iran's regional allies, which over the last 6 months of the Gaza war have questioned why powerful Iran is sitting back and letting its proxies battle against Israel. The question now is whether Iran's attack will be interpreted in the way that Tehran had planned, or will it trigger a reaction from Israel that could escalate into an uncontrollable cycle of violence. Joe Biden has reportedly been quick to tell Netanyahu that the United States will not support an Israeli counterstrike. It's clear neither Iran nor the United States want a much larger or wider war. But Israel is already fighting one, and one that many Israelis view as an existential war that must be won at any cost. They may feel that they have little to lose, and that Israel has repeatedly demonstrated that the United States, and particularly the Biden administration, has very little control over the military decisions made in Tel Aviv. Some voices in Israel are already calling for a retaliation. Culture and Sports Minister Miki Zohar, a Netanyahu ally, said that Iran's strike gave Israel broad international legitimacy to strike Iran with unprecedented force. Now the Israeli decision about what to do next belongs to the country's war cabinet, which is made up of Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, and the former defense minister Benny Gantz. American media reports have revealed that there is significant concern among top US officials on how Israel might respond. The fear is that Israel will quickly respond to Iran's attacks without thinking through the potential fallout. This view of the Biden administration towards the approach that Netanyahu and other Israeli officials have taken to Israel's war against Hamas has built up steadily over the last few months. US officials have privately expressed frustration with Israel's decision to strike the Iranian consulate in Syria. One official quoted by NBC said that he didn't think Israel even had a strategy. Senior leaders at the Pentagon have also privately expressed frustration at the timing of the Damascus strike. Biden, too, apparently feels that Netanyahu is trying to drag the US into a much broader conflict. Some White House officials have described Israel's approach to military operations as frenetic. Now, tied to an unpredictable ally, the US is facing a potential war between two major Middle East rivals, a war that could redraw global alliances. After decades of shadow war, a battle that could reshape the world is now an active conflict.